some people are saying, I've seen it today, that the trust, the relations between certain members of the black community and the police are irreparably damaged. Where do you stand on it all?
Firstly, I would reject that completely, that it's irreversibly or irreparably damaged. Saying that it's not helpful. It's not helpful at all. It's not true. And it's not helpful. How can we solve any problem if we say that it's unsolvable?
But do you think the police are, what's the saying we use now, institutionally racist?
Again, it's not a useful term. People like to throw these terms, but to me it's very intellectually lazy. It's very easy to just say, yep, institutional racism, yep, systemic racism, yep, structural racism. You can't solve for that. It's this sort of catch-all term, which just means that anytime anything happens, you can just say it. I mean, one thing that struck me actually during the intro is I think it's so interesting that with this situation, for example, that the explicit framing of race is even being brought in when we do not know if that was even a factor, right? So people are now focusing on race. This exact same thing happens in the U.S., and I would like the UK ideally not to copy this. The same thing happened in the George Floyd situation. To this day, even though that Derek Chauvin, the man who killed him, is now in prison, we don't know if there was a racial component to it. There's still no evidence of that. That wasn't even brought up in the trial and so on. But people are being trained by the media and the authorities and society to frame everything in this black and white racial concept.
Why?
I think, well, it depends on the people pushing it. You know, I think that there are avenues, there are individuals who profit a lot from it. There's a gigantic racial grievance industry. It's a multi-billion dollar, I don't know if it's definitely worth more in the US than it is in the UK. But it's, you know, it's a very useful political weapon, and a lot of money is made from it. And there are people who are professional race grifters who just go and they like to stir the pot and they like to make it seem that things are racial when they're not, and they just like to sow this discord and disharmony. So I think there are certain things everyone can always agree on. I think everybody, no matter where you sit politically, no matter what color you are, nobody would like to see more police brutality or more people getting killed by police in unjust circumstances. Everybody agrees with that concept, right? Everyone would like to have the police functioning and operating better. So I think if the conversation can be focused on that rather than getting caught up in race and in slogans and in Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter and this and just all this divisive nonsense that keeps people at each other's throat, then we can find the truth. I mean, the investigation hasn't happened yet. Is it possible that there's a racial component in this particular individual case? It's possible.